Hello everyone and welcome to the Sario Dev Show, Engineering IRL. And today's revision, I thought I'd cover something a little bit more technical. And the question today is, how important even is cyber? What's the deal? So obviously I'm talking here about cybersecurity. And in this landscape, you would have heard so many stories. When you think of cybersecurity, what do you think of? You think of hacking, you think of mostly hacking. But in reality, it actually does impact a lot of us, and it's kind of relevant to almost every engineering degree, and it is for one main reason. The reason is everything is starting to be connected to everything. You've heard about your smart TVs, smart fridges, soon will be your smart tables, smart clothing. Everything's going to be smart. But all smart means is connected to the internet and does things that normally doesn't. With that being said, what it means is for most things, it's got every single advantage of being connected to the internet, and therefore means it has every other disadvantage of being connected to the internet as well. So every industry out there, even civil, mechanical, electrical, all industries will be impacted by this. So it's important to at least have a base understanding of what it is, how you can protect yourself, even to be able to share that with someone else, and a minimum to be able to understand what you need to do for yourself to at least not be one of those plebs that get hacked. This won't be a rant about specifics on how do I secure my password and things like that. All of that type of information you can kind of look up. What I want to do is kind of relate it to a bigger picture and to industry. From where I stand, the cyberspace, in the industry that I work in, obviously we're protecting utilities, so it's actually a major deal because of the criticality. But the funny thing is that a lot of the vulnerabilities are humans. It's got nothing to do with the system. Humans, i.e. you. So even like you can look up so many attacks over the years. Even Target 2014, they got hacked big time. They lost 60 million different customers' credit card information. Turns out that the hack behind that, obviously, in the end, was actually one of the third-party vendors. So another company that was working for them contracted out. They're the ones that actually got hacked, but because they had to go in and do a maintenance job, they could bypass a whole bunch of target security. Then from there, the hack commences. So it means that you connecting to any systems have to consider your cyber profile. Now, the best thing that I can probably do for you guys is to talk about it from a macro level. So high level kind of things that you can do. And the first thing is that understand that it's about layering and attack surface. So the attack surface has increased over the years because of the connectivity that I've talked about. Digitalization and all those sorts of topics. Everything's being connected. Anything on the internet, any connection that you have to the internet is essentially increasing your attack surface. But it doesn't just mean that, because I'm not on the internet, I'm not hackable. This is why we talk about layers. In this scenario that I talked about earlier with the Target hack, obviously that means that since that guy got in, he bypassed a whole bunch of layers after that. So there's a whole bunch of security. So it's not just that third-party company's fault. They're essentially the hole into the door. But just because someone gets into that door, think about it as your house. Just because someone gets into the front door, if you could just structure your house the way you want, the front door could probably only get you to a section and doesn't give you access to everything else. So if you could compartmentalize the sections of your house with different security doors, obviously super inconvenient, then you start to understand that it's the equivalent of layering your network architecture. Okay, so that's one example of how your security can be improved just simply by understanding your architecture and minimizing your attack profile. After that, what I would recommend is you, as the user of a system, like the other thing that is highly probable is your own laptop or work machines or USBs that you have are infected. And obviously you want to run your scanners and all that stuff. But given that knowledge, you need to be aware of what you're connecting to, the types of systems you're connecting to, if it's important, or if you've got a USB, maybe it does need to be formatted. And another interesting kind of direction I'll go here is at the end of the day, it's not like some super hacker is going to get into everything kind of thing. Like there's a line where the hacking isn't. It's the way you think of it is. I'll bring back to the front door example. When you've encrypted everything, you've put a password on something to say, if the password to this is wrong, don't open the door. Okay. The way that encryption works is even the top hackers can't beat that statement. If password doesn't match, don't let through. Even the top hackers, they can't beat that. It's a statement that says, it's a yes-no statement. So what they do is, what you classically hear of is this, this hacker goes crazy, types a bunch of stuff, does a brute force attack. That's them trying to guess the password millions of times over and over. That's not economical. That generally almost never results in a successful hack. Otherwise, you'd be hearing people getting hacked left, right, and center all the time. How they get it is through what's called social engineering. So it's a lot easier. Think about like hacking your friend, and you go, you try to, their email, so you go to a website, use their email, you try to go, I forgot my password, and then it asks you a few security questions to try to get through. And then, it's that person's first pet's name. You probably know what it is, and their birthday and a few other personal details. So through methods that get around the door, it's tricking the door to saying yes, no. It's not beating the yes, no statement. It's hiding within that statement so that it lets it in. Or obviously this is why they call a backdoor. It's easier for them to attack another way that's already been established in. So if someone's got an entrance, a back door, another entrance doorway, it's easier to jump onto that guy and enter the house that way. Forget the front door, no one's getting through that. The idea of this is not to scare you into thinking that there's no way to protect it and all these back doors and you have you're so vulnerable. At the end of the day, if you're not a target, then like your average drive-by hack attempts, you should be able to protect yourself from. This applies to your personal and to work. But I think the way that the world is moving forward with, the internet's in the early phases. Electricity has been around for 200 years, and if you go back to when it was only 20 years old, you think about the applications they were doing then and what they thought was the future. Like now we've taken it to the next level. Internet has only been around for 20 years, so it's gonna keep going and it's gonna keep increasing. So it's good to be ahead of it. And then even when you work for a company, if you are at least cyber conscious, it will reflect well on you. Even if you're in a medical field, even if you're studying whatever, it's a positive mindset to have, to at least understand those basics. Okay? So, what do we know so far? That cyber is real, is a real issue because of hyperconnectivity and the internet. We know that we learn now that you as a human are the biggest weakness in most systems. We learned that even big companies get hacked through human error through other companies. So this is why it's relevant to whatever industry you're in. And we know that each one of us can improve our cybersecurity by reducing our attack surface. Number of ways we can get screwed. Just as a side note for you to have something out of this is obviously the way that you manage so two things you need to learn how to manage: your passwords and your backups. That's about it. Your passwords you need to manage, because if you have one password for everything, then you're super hackable. You can look up so many ways to improve your password management. And then the other thing is managing your backups. Where's your data? Obviously nowadays cloud's pretty good if you can get all of your data up to the cloud, but then that means if your password manager is not good and that gets hacked, then everything's together in one place. So in either case, both of those together should get you to be able to recover in most scenarios. What you want to reach ideally is that no single device that you have, even if you lose it, you break it, or it gets hacked or whatever, you can just wipe it and then from your backups rebuild it. Because with this whole cyber thing and the hacking, they have to hack base code. Like wiping your phone cleans your phone. So like they're hiding underneath a layer of deletion. If you format it, they still play under the rules of, well, the physics of devices, the physics of the internet. In that a device is designed to run, okay? It has memory, it has to run certain code. If you wipe out all the code, then the virus is gone. That's fine. It's not unbeatable. There's not like, this scary thing that can happen. A lot of the, I hear on the radio sometimes, some hacker kid comes onto the radio and they interview them and ask them like, oh, what have you got into? And they talk about all these cool things they've done. And whilst it's probably partly true, there is a large portion of it that when I hear what they're saying, it's kind of bullshit. They're just talking trash. So some kids will have skills and all that, and there is a lot of potential for it to be around, but there are answers as well. Like there's equally smart people working on the defense as there is on the offense. But don't underestimate learning some of the offense techniques helps you learn the defense. So hopefully that's another little takeaway you can get as well. They've done some testing previously where what they did was they got cybersecurity experts that were like defense specialists, and they got hackers to both equally defend and attack. And the attackers, the guys that were actually hackers, were better at defending a cyber attack. So the best defense is a good offense, apparently. But it doesn't mean that the defensive techniques didn't mitigate anything or weren't effective. They just weren't as efficient or as fast or as responsive as potentially a hacker. And this is one isolated test, but hopefully you can apply it to your real life. So think about what we talked about today a little bit in the cyber world. Personally and professionally, you need to be thinking about it, at least in the back of your mind. Understand the big impacts and what it really means and what they can do. But also understand that there are things that you can do about it. Also think about the fact that using cyber attacks as an example is that a good offense is a good defense. So you shouldn't always be defensive minded, waiting for things to come to you. You shouldn't be thinking that way. Consider this: if a company says they've been hacked 4 times and a company's been hacked 0 times, that doesn't necessarily mean that the company with the best cybersecurity defenses is the one that has 0 hacks against them. You say, but why? They haven't been hacked. They must be the best. No, they just haven't been hacked by the right person. What we don't know is they haven't been hacked because they haven't been targeted, and therefore once they get hacked, they might reveal some really some real problems behind the scenes, whereas one's being tried and tested and improved. Assuming you improve, then obviously you're more tried and true tested to be able to handle the hacks. So you might say, oh, that's kind of BS, like Windows machines always get hacked and Apple's don't. That's not entirely true. A better way I can talk about this is, for example, Google have a program where if you hack them, they pay you. You hack them, you report it to them, they pay you. And that's because your system is better tested when it's being attacked, right? Means you're from an offensive, defensive standpoint, you're not just saying, oh, I've put up these 5 walls, should be good, we haven't been attacked once, we're good. It's proactively. So when I mean offense, I don't mean go out and hack everyone. What I mean is you're proactively testing your defenses that you got set up. And the same thing that you have all your things in your life, all those routines and things like that. These are things that you have set up in life. You need to proactively attack them and question them for them to continually improve. Okay, so you need to be on the offense instead of the defense. You also need to take a page out of Google's book and reassess your current goals. We're going to tie this into your real life side, your current goals. And the way I'm using these words, goals, generically would still apply to your cyber intentions as well. So it's not just a cop-out. You need to consider being more proactive and questioning what you have as your defense. Otherwise, you're staying there. If you're not progressing, you're falling behind. That's the saying. And that's the same for your cyber profile. So for now, I won't go into depth with the cyber stuff, but I encourage, if you have questions about cyber and you want to know a little bit more, maybe you have some specific details that you want to know at a micro level, I can provide all of that to you. Just ask the questions. Next session, I can talk about specifics. And just for another piece, if you want to understand the difference between IT and OT, cybersecurity, I'll have a good post about that shortly. And probably another podcast later on covering that topic in detail. But in any case, that brings us to a close for today and the topic that I want to talk about with the cyber. Hopefully you get something out of it. Hopefully you get some sort of value. Thanks for everyone that's been listening. This has been pretty fun. Hopefully the quality keeps improving over time. As always, good luck on all the stuff that you're working on, and thanks for listening.